Welcome to episode 056 of the Beacon broadcast. It's October 14th, 2024. Just me this week, Kodax. Nice to meet you if it's your first time here. If it's not, welcome back. So let's jump into my first segment, which is talking about some purchases that have come in this week. I don't remember if I've mentioned this, but October is going to be a heavy month with new releases for me. So like I said, I've got one new release here, and then I got a deal on another game that I had kind of been having my eye on for a while. So that showed up this week too. The first one I want to talk about is the Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 collection for PS4. So this is a re-release of last year's limited Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection, which was for Switch and PS4, and it was only available physically through Square Enix's online store. This year they did a anniversary edition re-release of that game, those two games that released last year, with a slightly different cover art and a slightly different title, and they sold that at retail. It wasn't just only through the Square Enix online store. So last year I was able to get my hands on the Switch copy, and I wanted the PS4 copy as well. So now I've got it. From what I understand, it's the same exact release on disc and on cartridge as the ones last year. So the patches that came out afterwards, unfortunately, are not baked into these releases. My understanding is that these games play 100% from start to finish completely fine with no patch installed, but there is some like text size adjustments and font adjustments that they did make in patches afterwards that you would need to download the update to have that for. This particular release, the anniversary edition, also comes included with like a little sticker sheet inside the case, and I believe that's for PS4 and Switch as well. So if you don't know what this collection is specifically, last year they essentially remade Final Fantasy 1 through 6 with all brand new classic style 2D pixel art. It's been contentious with fans, to say the least. Some really like the new pixel art, some prefer the old pixel art, and there's really not been a middle ground. But it's good to have these games available on modern platforms in I don't know if it's in 4K on PS4, probably just 1080p. But this is not quite the extent that they're going to with, like, let's say Dragon Quest 3, which is getting a full like remake style pixel remake. Sorry, that didn't really make sense. Where they're giving it the HD 2D treatment, as Square Enix calls it. Whereas this is just going to be a flat game, like they originally were back in the day. But still, it's cool that these games are getting love again, and I do want to dig into these. I know I've played 1 and 2 on my Game Boy Advance, so I will want to check out 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 especially, that's one I've been wanting to play for a long time now, so I think this is where I'm going to experience Final Fantasy 6. My understanding is that when you pop this disc in, or the cartridge in, is that it basically adds a tile, or like a, you know, like the game to your whole lineup on your like home screen. So you get, it's not just one button for all 6 games, and then you go in and then you pick the game. My understanding is that you get a full game tile for each game in the collection once you insert the disc. And they all have their own set of trophies as well. So if you're a trophy hunter and you like classic Final Fantasy, this is a great way to add 6 platinum trophies to your collection if you have what it takes to get them in all of them. The next game I have is Fate Samurai Remnant. This game released last year for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. It is a spin-off of the Fate series games. which are a series of visual novels. But this game is an action game set in like feudal Japan, basically like an alternate reality version of the Fate universe set in that era. And it's an action game. It's supposed to play pretty well. It has a lot of customization. It is very story heavy too, but because it's its own kind of thing, I've heard that it's very playable by anyone. You don't need to have any experience with the series prior. So it's something I was interested in, and I couldn't pass it up for $30. And since it's the PS4 version, it also comes included with the PS5 version as a bonus. You just insert the PS4 version of the game into your PlayStation 5, and then it'll prompt you from the game screen page to download the PS5 version at no extra cost. As long as you have the PS4 disc inserted, you can load that particular version of the PS5, or that particular PS5 version of Fate Samurai Remnant. I heard originally this game was supposed to be like super challenging, like a Dark Souls game, but they ended up going with something a little more accessible than that. But I have heard it is still a challenging game, so you got to be able to block and parry and things like that. So which I enjoy games like that, but I do like a little bit of forgiveness, unlike what those Dark Souls games have. So anyways, that's Fate Samurai Remnant. Haven't played either of these releases, obviously, otherwise I'd have more to say. But I have been playing quite a bit of games this week. Genshin Impact came out with their big 5.1 update this past week, and it added a massive, like, I don't know, almost 10-hour, like, main story quest. And the most ambitious thing I've ever seen in Genshin Impact plays out during this quest. And it adds this like 3-hour like all-out war across this new nation that we have recently entered into, Natlan. And the nation, it's called the Nation of War, so it has lived up to its name. But long story short, there's always been this persistent threat of this, like, I don't really want to call it a group, but just like this evil force known as the Abyss. And they've appeared here and there throughout the story, and they're scattered about in the overworld. But this is the first time they've ever really posed like a major threat. I mean, we're talking about like the gameplay, through the gameplay. It's not just a cutscene that plays out and you see like, oh no, people are dying and cities are being attacked. Like, you actually get to like play through that. Genshin Impact has never done anything like that. They've always sort of like played out that kind of stuff through cutscenes. So it's just really cool to have this epic battle. It's not more than just one battle, because you're literally going around this like tactics map and you're like selecting areas to deploy yourself to. But when you choose one area to deploy yourself to, another area becomes closed off, and because they lost that battle and the Abyss like pushed forward in that area, and there's like actual like reactions that are shown in the world after the battle's over. Like, certain people, if you didn't go help them, like, they died. Now they're no longer present in the game world. So I don't know, it's just really cool to see them go all out, do something that ambitious. It just goes to show you that Genshin Impact is still capable of like surprising us, even, what are we going on 4 years later now. So it's really reinvigorated my like not love, but just like my belief in the developer to like continue to delight and surprise. So kudos to the team at Hoyoverse for the 5.1 update. Okay, the next thing I've been playing is a game on my phone, and this is Pokemon TCG, or Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. So this game is not formally released here in the United States. It has a soft launch in New Zealand right now. But if you're on Android, you might be aware of the installation files for Android are known as APKs. So it turns out that people in New Zealand have distributed that APK that they downloaded from the Google Play Store elsewhere on the internet. And if you're in another country and you have Android, you can install this APK and start playing Pokemon TCG Pocket ahead of its release, which I believe is October 30th, is when it formally releases to the whole world. So I've been playing for about a week now, And when I say playing, I mean that really loosely. Because it's not so much a game as it is like a virtual booster pack opening experience. So basically, you set up your account, you log in, and it lets you open a booster pack. And this is a wholly original set. And the only set available in the game so far is a set called Genetic Apex. And this set has a lot of very brand new original cards that have not existed prior. And it also has cards that you've come to like know and recognize from playing throughout the years or collecting throughout the years. And so there's a lot of like base set art, but there's a whole lot of brand new artwork that's entirely original to this game as well. I do wonder if maybe some of that artwork will then get printed onto retail physical cards as well. So the game, it lets you open a booster pack every 12 hours. There's ways to speed that up. Of course, there's like premium currency and daily activities and check-ins and do this, do that, get some of this. And so you can get these hourglasses that basically reduce the time it takes for you to open your next booster pack. But I'm not going to be spending any money on this. It's literally just a virtual trading card game collector for me. But it does have a really nice presentation. And there's over 200 cards in the set, and I want to say there's like a dozen or so promos out there already. They do have like a subscription model where you can pay $10 for 30 days of access to this premium thing, and you can basically open a third booster pack each day, and you know, that kind of thing. You can set up virtual binders, virtual like display cases. You can add people as friends and like check out their collections and things like that and get items in return from them. They have said that trading is going to be coming in a future update, or at least it says this feature will be available in a future update. So you can't trade with anyone quite yet. And then there is a battle mode. So the TCG in this game is a modified version of the traditional card game. It's a little bit sped up. You don't add energy cards to your deck. You have this sort of energy thing that you can tap once per turn to attach an appropriate energy to any Pokemon in your deck. And there is solo play, so you can set up your own decks. You can use rental decks, although the rental decks only have a limited number of uses. And then you can do battle with the AI in various challenges, and you can also do multiplayer battles as well. But I do have a feeling the multiplayer is probably going to end up very pay to win, because the people who are spending on premium currency or have the premium monthly membership or whatever, they're going to be opening a lot more booster packs and getting a lot more cards. There's also one really cool other feature that I kind of like. It's called Wonder Pick, similar to Wonder Trade in the games. It shows you other people who have opened up booster packs recently, and you can see the 5 cards that they obtained from their booster pack. And from those 5 cards, you can try to pick one of them to add to your collection. And this adds another kind of currency that sort of regenerates. You get one of these every 12 hours, and most of the Wonder Pick packs cost between 1 to 3 of this energy to open up. And so you can expect to do a Wonder Pick once every 2 days if you're going to go for a pack that maybe has... So like I can see that like this particular pack right here, it has a Golduck, a Poliwag, an Abra, a Spearow, and a full art Slowpoke. So this full art Slowpoke card is like one of the rare exotic cards. So this one takes 3 of the Wonder Pick energy to open. I only have like not even 2 right now. I have 4 more hours to go until I have my second energy. And you can only store 5 of these energies at a time. So once you hit 5, you're basically waste. So if you're not logging in every couple days at least to use your Wonder Pick, you're going to let that energy go to waste. So if I pay the 3 of my Wonder Pick energy for that, and what it does is it shuffles the cards around, flips them over, and I can no longer tell which card is where. So you tap on the card you want and it flips over, and then you hope you get the card that you wanted. So for me, I try to find a pack that has maybe like at least 3, if not 4 cards that I don't have already. Because if that happens, then at least I can, hopefully get one new card, even if it's not like the holo or the rare or the full art card. I've had really bad luck with Wonder Pick so far. I think I've gotten one good thing out of all of them that I've done. The majority of the time I get junk, and I don't even know if it's like rigged or not, or if the game just determines that I'm gonna get a good card or not, or if it's like it's already determined, doesn't matter which card I tap on, I'm getting the Abra and I'm not getting the full art holo Venusaur. But yeah, so far that's Pokemon TCG Pocket. It's been fun opening booster packs every day, and zero commitment to really do anything. I'm just gonna treat it as sort of like a virtual card collecting thing. One other thing I want to mention about the battles is that, like I said, it's a modified version of the game. The cards you see in the game that are also real cards, the abilities and moves and things like that aren't necessarily going to match up. They've modified these cards with the new powers and abilities to better suit the kind of play environment that they're creating on the phone. But I think it's pretty cool. It's worth checking out. I will say I did enjoy doing a few of the AI battles. It did kind of reinvigorate my enjoyment. I was like, oh man, I kind of miss, brings me back to my youth when I was playing in the trading card game league. But I do wonder at high levels, like if I haven't even gone in to do PvP, I just imagine I'm gonna get stomped by some guy with like Articuno and I'm putting out my Weedle, But doing the AI battles, that's been fun because you're playing against like another rental deck, so you're kind of on even ground in terms of power and ability. Okay, I've got one more game I've been playing. It's been a big week. I don't know why. I've been playing a lot of games. So this week, in anticipation of Dragon Age the Veilguard, which launches, I believe, on October 31st, I have gone back to Dragon Age Inquisition, which was 2014's Game of the Year, and a game I enjoyed very much. And the reason I've gone back is because Dragon Age Inquisition received 3 download expansions, I guess you can call them, in like the year and a half after Inquisition came out. And I never got around to playing them. At the time I finished Inquisition, Destiny was only a couple months old, and I was really into Destiny for like 2 years. It was like my life, maybe 3 years even. So I played a lot of Destiny, and so I just never came back around to the DLC. But it's my understanding that the third of these 3 DLCs is very important to major events tied to this new game, Dragon Age the Veilguard. It's like, you know what, it's time. I've got a couple weeks left before Dragon Age the Veilguard comes out. I need to play these 3 DLCs. So I've played the first 2, which are the ones that aren't like super important to whatever is going on in the Veilguard, at least that I'm aware of. And the third one, Trespasser, that's the one I'm planning on playing through this week. But I will say I got my butt kicked. So I reloaded my save file from December or November of 2014. Yes, that's right. 2014, almost exactly 10 years ago. And I had the game set on hard because I was going for I was trying to go for the Platinum Trophy. But that game is almost 100 hours before the DLC, and I played the game on hard. I got the trophy for hard. The only trophy I'm missing from the base game is playing the game again on Nightmare difficulty, which for a 90-hour game, I'm not doing it. I'm never getting the Platinum Trophy for this game. There's no way I'm playing through it on Nightmare difficulty. And coming back to it this long later, I tried starting on hard, like, oh, maybe I'll pick it back up, But no, I do not. My muscle memory was not there. I did not remember who was in my party, who I've built correctly, how I was using my group of adventurers on these quests out in the world. So I had to set that thing to easy mode just so I could kind of get reacquainted with what the heck I'm supposed to be doing in this game. Long story short, though, the first 2 DLCs were really great. I enjoyed them. The first DLC puts you in a new wide open area with some different stories going on relating to this group of kind of tribal people, and you end up fighting a dragon in the end. It's awesome. And then the second DLC was specifically related to the race of dwarves and their ancient history. And so you're going through this area. If you play Dragon Age, you know what the oh gosh, not the deep mines. What the heck are they called? There's this underground area below where the dwarves live, and even lower than that, there's even more crazy stuff going on. So anyways, you do this really crazy expedition into the depths of the planet, effectively, and that was really cool. Ends in like a really kind of exciting way. Almost feels like they're leaving that thread open for something else really interesting to happen in maybe a further future Dragon Age game. So I'm excited for what that might spell for the future. But considering it's taken 10 years to get the follow-up to Dragon Age Inquisition, I don't know if I'll be alive. Well, I mean, hopefully I'll be alive for whatever Dragon Age games comes after this one. But it's just ridiculous, man. 10 years is too long. I know Dragon Age the Veilguard has been rebooted multiple times. At one point, it was really far along in development as a multiplayer game. Then they scrapped that to make a single-player game. So it's, I guess, maybe we would have had a Dragon Age game sooner. But the way how it happened now is better than having got whatever multiplayer abomination that we would have received. So I guess I'm grateful that we are where we are, because that multiplayer game maybe could have killed the series for all I know. So next week I'll talk about the Trespasser expansion, which I will be playing hopefully throughout the course of this week. Okay, we're going to talk about the news now. We've been going for a minute. So on Wednesday, October 9th, the day finally arrived where Nintendo announced their next venture into the hardware space. No, I'm not talking about the Nintendo Switch successor that we've all been waiting for. I'm talking about, and this is in quotes, Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. Nintendo's new motion sensing alarm clock aims to gamify waking up and getting out of bed. Here's the official description from Nintendo. Introduce a little play to your wake-up routine with Alarmo, the interactive alarm clock from Nintendo. Start the day off right with fun animations, sounds, and characters from some of your favorite games. You can even snooze the alarm with gestures and end it by getting out of bed, thanks to Alarmo's motion sensor. So how exactly does this work? So first you pick the game theme you want your alarm clock to be set to. The options at launch are going to be Mario, Zelda, Splatoon, Pikmin, and Ring Fit. That's their kind of exercise game, for those of you that don't know. More game themes, such as Mario Kart and Animal Crossing, will arrive via firmware updates in the future. That's right, now even your alarm clock can get software updates. Thank goodness for that. It's crazy. There was a time where I was so excited about doing firmware, doing system updates for like my devices. Like when that became a new thing, I became obsessed with it. I was obsessed with it for my DSi. I was obsessed with it for my Wii, for my Wii U, for my Switch. Well, maybe not. By the time the Switch rolled around, I was kind of like the excitement of a firmware update had worn off. But there used to be a time where like you would get new features when those things happened. And, I guess we're just so used to just things updating now. It's not really a big deal. A lot of times there's updates and then nothing new even happens, at least seemingly from the user's perspective. But anyways, yes, alarm clocks now have firmware updates. So after your theme is set, you set your daily alarm just like you would on your phone or alarm clock that you already own. Make sure Alarmo is facing your bed at an angle so it can capture your movements. So let's say you set your alarm for 8 a.m. So now it's time to wake up. Music from the game you selected will begin playing, and as you move around, various sound effects like Mario collecting coins will trigger with your movements. Finally, when you get out of bed, the music and sounds will stop. No need to press any buttons, as the motion detection will understand when you have left the bed. So I guess the idea is that, some people, I guess when their alarm goes off, they kind of toss and turn and, move around and kind of fight with it. And so, like, while you're doing that, you're going to be hearing Yahoo! And ding, 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 and, the little coin noises as you do that. So I guess that's appealing to some people, maybe. Now, there are two other modes that you can have your alarm set in. So, steady mode, which gradually increases the strength of the alarm the longer you refuse to leave your bed, and gentle mode, which is less aggressive with the sound increasing. Nintendo recommends starting with steady mode for most users, so I guess they feel that maybe people see the most success when the alarm gets gradually louder. Alarmo also functions as a regular clock throughout the rest of your day, and can even play like mellow soundscapes as you go to fall asleep. So you can set it into like sleep mode as you're going to bed, and I don't know, I guess Mario will sing you a lullaby or something. And every hour, when your alarm isn't active, I guess, I'm not really sure how it knows when your alarm is active or not, there will play like an hourly chime of some kind related to the game that you have it set to. So like okay, you woke up at 8 and now it's turning 10 o'clock or whatever, you'll hear Mario go, "Hello, have a good day," or something like that. I don't know, I'm just making that up. So the unit itself, it tracks via, I believe, some kind of sensor. There's no camera, they've said. It can even track like your sleep pattern. So I guess how like some people have like wearables that they, like a watch that they wear to bed, and then they can see like when they were active and restless. Using Alarmo, you don't have to wear anything, and it can tell you, what your activity was throughout the night. But this only works if you're a single person. The unit itself is like, it's kind of hard to, it's not really hard to describe. It looks kind of comical. It's in like a Mario red, like plasticky shell, and the front is like a dark black kind of screen. And so I don't know, I feel it's a little bit childish in that color. Maybe if there was, I don't know, some other more understated colors, it would maybe be a little more appealing to me. Nintendo did a deep dive interview with Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo project producer Yosuke Tamori and project director Tetsuya Akama. Some highlights gleaned from this interview indicate that the Alarmo is the end result of the Nintendo QOL initiative, it's quality of life, that started back in 2014. Wow, 2014 is really coming up a lot today. So it's cool that we're now finally seeing the initiative bear some fruit from their quality of life. So they had announced back in 2014 that they were working on some kind of sleep tracking device. And next year came, nothing happened. The next year came, nothing happened. Periodically, Nintendo would be asked about it in interviews, and they would say that it's still something they're working on. So lo and behold, here we are a decade later, Alarmo is here. So Alarmo, I mentioned earlier, for single sleepers, it can use the motion tracking, right? Well, unfortunately, if you have more than one person in your bed, which I imagine a lot of people do, or you have pets, which I imagine a lot of people do, it recommends disabling the motion sensing and putting it on button mode, which will let you, tap the top of the alarm clock to stop it. So I feel like, a big chunk of its usage is going to be immediately sort of negated by that fact alone. So how much is it going to cost to get one of these? Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo will be available in early 2025 for the price of $99 and 99 US cents. Unless you happen to be a member of the Nintendo Switch Online plan. In that case, you can have early access and you can purchase it now. It's already being delivered to people who are Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. Am I personally interested? No way in heck for $100 would I buy this thing. I wake up and get out of bed immediately, so something like this would only be a distraction and slow me down in the morning. Like, my alarm goes off, within 5 seconds I have slid the alarm off and I'm on my way to the restroom or the kitchen or wherever, the shower, and I'm over my alarm. I'm not going to sit there and like go hee 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 hee, my alarm is so cute, hee 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 hee. So yeah, I really don't see the point, and I don't sleep alone, so I wouldn't even be able to take advantage of the motion detection. And I don't know, like, I mean, I feel like maybe if I was a kid, I would see this as like a pretty fun thing that I would try to use. In fact, I can definitely guarantee you, if I was 13 or 14 and this got announced, 13 or 14-year-old me would be begging my mom to get me this for Christmas. And yeah, I probably would have loved it and I probably would have used it. So if you have kids, I don't know, or you got a nephew, a niece, Alarmo could be something, pretty fun to look into. I'd probably buy one if it was $50. I would just buy one to have it. Maybe I could use it as like just a regular clock on my desk at work, and it can just kind of, make me smile every now and then. But yeah, no way in heck am I paying $100. Next story is also about Nintendo. So Alarmo wasn't the only announcement that Nintendo made last Wednesday. At 3 p.m. Pacific that afternoon, Nintendo made the following announcement on Twitter. We will be performing a test related to a new feature for Nintendo Switch Online on Nintendo Switch. Starting 8 a.m. Pacific time on October 10th, existing Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members will be able to apply to participate on a first-come, first-serve basis. Nintendo is accepting applicants from the following regions: Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. So, it being announced less than 24 hours beforehand, I was like, okay, I am going to prepare myself to try to get into this program. There's only 10,000 slots, and anything Nintendo is going to fill up really fast. A lot of people are going to apply. So at 8 a.m. the next day, I was prepared and ready with my alarm, not my Alarmo, just an alarm, and within 5 seconds of the application period opening, the test had filled up. But I was one of those 10,000 people who was entered into the test. The playtest itself has not been detailed at all. Is it a game or a software application? Does it have something to do with the Switch successor? Who knows? My guess, since they're saying this is a feature, they specifically said a new feature of Nintendo Switch Online, my guess is it could be something like trophy-like functionality as seen on PlayStation and Xbox. I could see them being like, okay, you're going to download this special update, and now for the next 2 weeks, here's a list of different games. Maybe they'll give us codes to use them or something. And within that application, we can play and unlock achievements or trophies or Mario pins or I don't know, whatever they want to call them. And, that'll be their way of sort of testing that functionality. I'm probably wrong. Nintendo has shied away from ever doing something like that, but I'm struggling to think of what can be considered a feature and need testing on sort of a large but not massively large scale, because 10,000 is relatively small in the grand scheme of things. When they've done tests for like Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3, they just let anybody download and like really stress test the servers. So this is not a stress test. This is just, I guess, wanting maybe feedback, wanting just a little bit of like bug reporting. I'm not really sure. Nintendo is supposedly not going to be allowing people, or they're telling people who applied and entered not to share any details of what it is. But I mean, you're not having anyone sign an NDA. You're just asking in good faith that they not say anything. Nintendo knows this information is going to get out. So I don't really know why they're even bothering to say that to begin with. So on October 20th, Nintendo will distribute redemption codes for this download software. And then on October 23rd, the playtest will begin and then end almost 2 weeks later on November 5th. So this Sunday, the software will get distributed. And then I believe next Wednesday, the testing will begin. So whatever this ends up being, I'd tell you I'd like to be able to report on it, and maybe I will be able to after Nintendo unveils it formally, but whatever I can say, I will say, and whatever I can't say, I won't say. Just so Nintendo knows. I have to say that legally. Okay, so I got one more story for you guys, and this one is kind of a big one. Game Freak. We all know them as the developers and creators of Pokemon, right? They're the ones who made Pokemon Red, Blue, and all the main series games afterwards. They have suffered a massive data breach of more than a terabyte of data. Now, terabyte by these days standards isn't really a lot of data, but it is a huge amount of data when you consider a lot of this data is just images and text. Game Freak issued a statement saying that the intrusion occurred in August of this year. It's unclear why they had not said anything prior, but now in October, the details of more than 2,600 personnel and contractors have been leaked alongside a treasure trove of behind-the-scenes development information. According to Game Freak, in a statement, they said only the names and company email addresses for the employees have leaked, which doesn't seem to be the absolute worst thing. It almost seems, fairly innocent. But there have been a lot of internal communication from different employees that has leaked as well. So there's definitely some stuff in here that, we aren't supposed to be seeing any of this stuff. But we have, and we have a lot to talk about. So as far as interesting things go that I'm particularly interested in, we've got new information on old games, new information on new and unannounced games. We've got new information on the anime, the movies, and even live-action TV series. So let's dive in. So most of this, the leak is kind of constrained to generations 3, 4, 5, and 6, where the real meat and potatoes of the video game stuff is. Like I said, we have some new details on some unannounced games, but they're more like breadcrumbs rather than like, here's a list of all the new Pokemon, or anything like that. From this whole leak, we have only seen... Well, I shouldn't say that. So let's go back to Gen 3 for a minute. So we have now been given a look at beta versions of all the in-game pixel artwork for the Pokemon. I'm talking about... I think only 2 of these designs that are in this leak are like the final designs that ended up in the game. Everything else are like beta versions of Pokemon that now exist, or like there's probably like 50 Pokemon that just never saw the light of day. They got scrapped and they were never even released. The artwork is crazy. There's just so much stuff. I think my favorite thing, there's this penguin that looks like a bowling pin, and Spheal, that round little Spheal, was originally going to be white like a bowling ball, and it looked like they were going to sort of be a pair of Pokemon, and Spheal didn't even have evolutions back then. Really interesting. So a few, like I said, a few of them share similarities, but most of them are wildly different from the ones seen in the final version. Gen 3 also had rough Ken Sugimori sketches for the 3 starter Pokemon. Trico and Torchic are recognizable in these sketches, but Mudkip is nowhere to be seen. Instead, we have a blue and white rabbit holding a life preserver style pool floaty around him that's also like attached to his body at the back. So this Pokemon, which we don't even have a name for, I don't believe, was slated to take the role of the water starter Pokemon. For Gen 4, we didn't get as much substantial beta design work as we did for Gen 3, but miners digging through the terabyte of data did find a set of internal documents that reveal the lore of the formation of the Pokemon universe. We are talking about Pokemon's version of the Book of Genesis, effectively, here. Like, we have, like, not poetry, but it's like written in like almost like verse format. It's just a massive lore dump. This also includes a detailed chart that breaks down how all the legendary Pokemon are related and can trace their origin back to Arceus. It is bonkers. You gotta read this stuff for yourself if you're at all interested in Pokemon lore. There is some really crazy stories that they've written that are like internal use only. Stuff that the public probably shouldn't see. I mean, we have stuff about Pokemon and people reproducing together, like just really weird, crazy, out there stuff. Data mining for Generation 5 yielded some interesting beta Pokemon designs and an early, barely playable builds, but not much else. Though this leak is still very fresh, just because we don't have a lot on Gen 5 now doesn't mean they're not going to dig up more stuff in there about it. So in Generation 6, the X and Y generation games, early beta builds of the game have been found. Some of these beta builds include different designs for the protagonist, including one that when you go into the battle, there's like a fully high-functioning like 3D model of Hilda, who's the protagonist from Gen 5, as like the player character. I guess they were just someone built a model for her just to like test it out on the 3DS hardware before they had a finalized protagonist design for Generation 6. It's also been discovered that Jinx was originally going to have a Mega Evolution but got scrapped. The data shows that it would have had the in-game ability Magic Guard, I believe is what it's called. So moving towards some upcoming and unannounced project, here's what we have so far. And again, most of this is just breadcrumbs. There's been no actual like leaks in terms of images or videos or gameplay or anything like that. So we have a couple bits about Pokemon Legends ZA, which was the Pokemon Legends game announced earlier this year. Originally, the game was slated to release this year according to the internal documents, but we know from its announcement that it is actually targeting 2025 release at this point. The game will have Mega Evolutions for legendary and mythical Pokemon. That's Zygarde and Zeraora, respectively. These Pokemon have never had a Mega Evolution before, so this is kind of big news for people. It's going to have repercussions for the anime, it's going to have repercussions for Pokemon Go, that kind of thing. We also learned that the game's code name is Ikaku. Ikaku. I don't know how I'm pronouncing that. Well, I know how I'm pronouncing it, I just don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So the first unannounced game project we have is codename Synapse. Internally described as a Splatoon-like multiplayer game being jointly developed by Game Freak and Ilka. Ilka are the ones who developed the remakes of Diamond and Pearl a few years ago. They also do work on Pokemon Home, I believe. Yeah, maybe they did Bank too, I'm not totally sure. And then finally, an unannounced game project. So this is Gaia, K and N. As you can maybe suspect, the K and N are like the two versions, like a red and blue, gold and silver, so on and so forth. So Project Gaia, this is the Generation 10 games. It's currently in development for Switch 2, and according to the leak, support for Switch 1 is under consideration but not confirmed at this time. Files in the leak referencing this project go back to September of 2023. So this has been in development for a minute now. Now for the media, let's talk about live action. So Netflix and Pokemon are teaming up to make a live action series, 8 episodes and up to 5 seasons. This was originally targeting a 2024 release, so this information is quite old and they appear to be far behind schedule. Nothing has been announced between Netflix and Pokemon at this point. I want to say there was rumors 1 or 2 years ago that this partnership was happening, but now we know that this, or at least it was, if it isn't still happening. The sequel to Detective Pikachu will be titled The Great Detective Pikachu, and the director of Kong Skull Island is attached to direct. His name is Jordan Vogt Roberts. Harry, that's Ryan Reynolds' Pikachu character, somehow ends up back inside the body of Pikachu and has teamed up with a femme fatale type at a wealthy family's estate that is holding a Pokemon contest. A murder occurs and Pikachu must solve the case. The movie will feature a mysterious item that has the power to de-evolve Pokemon and rob them of their abilities. This information comes from internal documents dated 2021 to 2022. So, for all we know, this has totally been scrapped, but that's what the plot was planned to be back then. As for the anime, multiple projects had their information leaked. For the current anime series Pokemon Horizons, the major plot points and end goal of the show have already been revealed through internal documents. Like where the show is ultimately headed, they already have it like fully detailed out. It's crazy. These documents are like, it's like, hey, here's where we want to take it. Here's the pros of going this way. Here's the cons of doing this way. Here are the pitfalls. Here are the things we need to avoid. Like you can tell it's like a back and forth discussion that's being happened. It's all very like collaborative type documentation. So really, really interesting to kind of see their thought process behind like some of the things they talk about. Again, I recommend if you at all have an interest, go and read through all this stuff yourself. There's a number of websites covering it. There's Twitter accounts covering it. Centro Leaks, CENTRO Leaks, LEAKS. They're really going into detail about everything they're digging up in the files. So as for the animated films, it used to be that we got an animated film every single year since for us, 1998, but I think in Japan it was 96 or 97 that they had their first movie. But the films have been dormant for a long time, and it turns out that was done intentionally because they have been trying to, I guess, figure out a way to reinvent the films, not have them tied to Satoshi any longer, because Satoshi being Ash here in the Americas, because he's gone. The anime series no longer focuses on him. They don't want to focus on the new protagonist of the anime. That would be Liko, for her role in the movies. There was always kind of a disconnect between the movies and the animated series. Not always. Sometimes they seem to weave that in a little better, but a lot of times they did feel very standalone. And so what they want to do is go back to basics and create something exciting that not just kids will enjoy. The protagonist of the movie will not be the same protagonist of the anime series. There's this concept art piece that leaked as part of this document. And in the concept art, you can see what appears to be a young adult woman with a new, never-before-seen Pokemon attached to her side as a Pidgeot carries them away from a massive dimension-shattering looking black hole in the background. According to the document, the new Pokemon's name in Japanese is Aperon. It doesn't look like an ape, so don't read too much into that name. But it's kind of hard to really describe what it looks like. But yeah, there is one new Pokemon confirmed throughout this whole leak so far, which is surprising there's not more, given the size of the leak. But yes, we do have one official. Well, it's not really official until the movie actually comes out. If the movie never comes out, or the whole project gets scrapped, then that Pokemon is literally just another lost Pokemon, like all those beta design Pokemons from Generation 3. But yeah, they want to, they're going to set the movie in Kanto. It's going to focus primarily on the original generation of Pokemon. It's going to touch on Mew. It's going to cover darker themes such as suicide and social media negativity, at least according to the document. And it was originally targeting a release last year or this year. And considering it's still yet to be announced at all, it appears to be stuck in development heck. So as you can see, much of the data from this leak appears to be old, and I've really only scratched the surface of like talking about it here with you all. And the data miners have only scratched the surface of the leak itself. It's only been like 3 days, and it takes a long time to go through a terabyte of data. So if there are any more major revelations to come to light, I will be sure to share it here with you all on the Beacon broadcast and transmission.